welcome everyone to our Aquatics Q&A. This is I think our 6th round of this. We're submitting questions. You can find out more information on aquaticstalk.com. I just threw all the resources up there. And then every week we're doing Q&A whether it's from you as individuals in the field or things that we've scraped from the Facebook group. So there's a couple of us on the call here. So we'll go ahead and switch to the first question. And again, with this, the way I set this up is the questions can be upvoted. So people can chime in and submit the questions they'd really like to see us talk about. So an anonymous person posted, any ideas for connecting to younger staff to make them want to work? Anybody want to stab at that question first?
Pay them more. I'm just going to go straight into it. Just pay them more.
Pay them more.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I know I think it's trying to find their passion and engage them. Looking at like trying to find out where they're at and what their goals are and try to make it relevant and also empower them, but at the same time understanding that they're pretty young oftentimes, and it's just kind of a whole different work ethic environment that we have in our field now. I've seen some younger staff that are super motivated, and then I've seen other young staff that just don't. So I think we're picking a little bit of feedback up from you guys.
We are. I have my other aquatics manager sitting here, and we're trying to get his microphone to work correctly.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, you did.
Sometimes you have to use one microphone because if you're sitting close together, you can just talk and have yours muted, and then your voice will come through on the one microphone. That's what I have to do when I have someone in my office.
Yep.
That's what we're gonna do here.
Yeah.
Right. And you sound good there.
Perfect.
Any other thoughts on motivating young staff?
I think finding their passion is like a really big, wide, like you could do a lot with that. I think one of the biggest issues that we sometimes forget is that we do this a lot of times because it's what we're passionate about. This is our passion. And we feel like that energy should translate. But for a lot of kids, like just acknowledging that this is a job to them and just acknowledging that they are like a clock in, do their job and clock out, go home, that is respect. And that respect goes a long way.
That's a great point. All right. Next question I'll bring up. Chandler asked on the Facebook group, does anyone close an outdoor pool if the water temperature is too hot? If so, what is your cutoff, and is it different for different activities? I'll jump in on this one first. We tend not to, but we also here in the Northwest where it doesn't get that hot at our outdoor pools. Our outdoor leisure pool has a lot of surface area and not a lot of volume. And so it will, I think the warmest I've ever seen it get up to is like 93, and we still get people swimming in it. Our outdoor lap pool, we take steps to try to mitigate it, but at the same time, I'm looking at trying to build like a sprayer to do cooling with a kind of an auxiliary pump. But for right now, we really don't. We just try to leave our pool covers off at night to try to keep it cool. Anybody else on that one?
I would say I'm in Central Illinois, so temperature changes like every 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
I've never encountered that. I think that if you're getting above like 95, 98, you probably might want to consider either icing your pool. I know that's really hard if you don't have a big freezer, or just like going ahead and like being like, it's literally too hot for us to even like have people out.
Well, I think in Illinois too, if it's above 85, it would be considered a therapy pool, and it's different chemicals.
That's good.
It's gotten hot enough for that.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say if you're ever above 104, that's spa temperature, and that is not okay to be operating at that point. But I would be I don't know. It's possible you could get up that warm in some of our warmer climates if you had just the right pool configuration. So,
Mhm.
all right, we're going to hop over to the next question. Oh my gosh, Melissa, your slideshow is hilarious. So,
I love the pool.
When's the last time I drained it?
this one I thought was kind of funny. I laughed at this question way too much. Based off of Bridget's post in the Facebook group, is it suspicious to ask a kiddo if they had fun at the pool?
Oh, I love
I
that
saw
question.
that post.
Yeah, no, what?
We ask our kids at the pool every day. In fact, my front desk staff are like directed to do that. Every guest that leaves, how was your swim? Did you have fun? For rec swim, swimming lessons,
Yeah,
all
why
of
would
it.
you not ask them?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I would agree. Like,
I mean, I could see where it's like might be a little weird if the person wasn't in uniform, but they were in uniform. They said, she said she was in uniform, and like, I don't understand it.
Don't they want us all to be engaged with their kids? I mean, we're the fun people, you know, like we have fun with the kids at the pool. So I don't think it's out of like normal, you know, it's not weird for me to ask it.
Maybe we're just all weird and desensitized. I think that ties into that other question that we posted earlier. So, all right. So Marcella asked in the group about burnout. It's our last stretch of our seasonal pool, and the staff are DONE. Any tips to combat?
Hire new staff. And I'm not being facetious. Like if you have depth in your staff, rotate people out. And actually for next summer, strategically look at hiring more people if you can. I know it's tough. Hire more people and then give everybody a week to 2 weeks off each summer. Not like 2 weeks in a row, but you know, a couple weeks over their summer because they have other stuff that they want to go do and it's good for them to get a physical and mental break from the pool. So if they're having their time off and feeling supported with that, I think they're going to last this season a little bit better. So that's honestly my advice is bring fresh people back into it.
I would echo that. By the end, we did just end our season, which is, we had a very short season. It ends as soon as school goes back. But by the end, when my full rotation is 8 guards, and out of 8, I had 5 that were completely new within 2 weeks. So by doing that, like by hiring on a continual basis, not just like staffing once my shifts had been filled.
Yep.
By the end of summer, when I was having that burnout, when I was having the call-ins, we had 5 call-ins one day. That helped a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think understanding that you're going to get to this point is a big one, and being able to help communicate like we're almost there. This is normal. That helps a lot. And then also just do everything you can to take care of those staff.
Yeah.
This is the time of the year I make sure we have plenty of popsicles in the freezer.
Yep.
I know that sounds minimal, but it makes a difference. Some of my coworkers are really, you know, they keep a candy box stocked. They will periodically go on Amazon and buy like 200 random like water bottle stickers of different varieties and just make sure to leave them out. We usually plan an end of season party for our staff where we, you know, after the facility closes, we let them come in and mess around for an hour and a half, and we take responsibility for supervising and lifeguarding them so they can just kind of cut loose a little bit within reason. We had one year where I found out about this afterwards, that they decided to try to ride a recycling bin down the slide. Sure. So make sure your mileage may vary there, and they've been explicitly told anybody doing that in the future will be subject to immediate disciplinary action up to and including termination, because that's not cool.
They should have tried something else. I don't know.
Yeah, it's we don't want them to break anything.
Like their heads.
Yeah.
No workers' comp injury from the pool party.
Little pool party, or I say this and I've not done it, so I'll just say it for myself. Take them off site somewhere, a movie, bowling, paintballing, something that's different than aquatics, the jumpy trampoline place, the other water park. I don't know. And I know that's hard because it takes time and money. And then to take your whole staff, you have to shut down your pool. And your people don't want you to shut down because they've waited so long to have the pool. So it's hard, but just trying to keep fresh. And then my only other thing with that is because we're running kids club, kids camp this year for the first time. And the kids don't want to do the projects, but we figured out it's because the staff leading them aren't coming in with like, hey, everybody, we're going to do like XYZ today. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, look at the one I made, and really talking it up. And so the kids feed off of that energy, and so do your staff. And then your staff feed off the energy that they're all putting out or you're putting out. So you have to make sure to keep your energy level up through the end of this time called August.
Yeah, and I think I'll echo some of that and know that for myself, this is yesterday was my last day at work for like 10 days. But because of my role, I'm more facility operations. So this is a good time for me to dart out for a week and then come back and get all the final preps for our maintenance closure. So I have to go recharge my batteries. Otherwise, like I was noticing this whole week, I'm like, I am ready for that vacation and ready to get out of this. So, and of course, on my day off, I start talking about pool stuff. But I think also that self-care is really important too. So, all right, next question we've got from the Facebook group. I love this one. Wendy asked, what is your definition of horseplay and examples? It's fun in the state of Oregon where I'm at. The definition of horseplay is any activity that the operator deems as unsafe. So that's it's fun for me to be able to go around, especially since my job title is the pool operator. So I am the definer of horseplay and can stop any activity that I want. I think anything that's not going to be, that is either impacting the people that are in the facility around you too. Like there's sometimes that you can let those junior high age kids be a little rowdier, a little bit, because there's nobody around them in the water for 25 feet. But on a day when you could literally walk across the heads in the pool, some activities aren't going to be as good as others. Thoughts from everyone else?
Would also agree. Anything that disrupts the people around them or that is creating an unsafe situation, like that someone could potentially get hurt in, that's kind of where my staff and I stop it. But we also then decided that our junior hires and high schoolers needed their own time in the pool, so they could go a little bit crazier if they felt like it. So we did give them their own time.
And how did you market that time? Like, what did you call it? You guys cut out there, or maybe it's me that cut out.
I can see Andrew moving, but Amanda has frozen.
I think Amanda might just be frozen. Am I still good?
Yeah.
Yep, you're coming in loud and clear, Andrew.
Yeah. Did you ask how we marketed that?
Yeah, like what do you call that program?
So we basically just did a separate time based on age group, kids with parents. We put flyers out, put it on Facebook and everything. So it was from noon till like 3, 12 and under with adults, 3:30 till close. Adults and kids 12 and up can come without a parent. And so if you're an adult, you can come at any time.
Right.
The early shift was just separate. So for those small children can come and not get, splashed or bumped around or whatever. So we try to separate a little bit to let them get somewhat of, get a little bit of that out of their system. And then it's like you're saying, you can kind of control it based on who's in the pool and whatnot. So
Yeah, I'm looking at doing that with our inflatable swim. We have an inflatable swim every Saturday night from 7 to 9, and we've got the big Aquaglide inflatables. And I specifically picked Saturday 7 to 9 p.m. thinking I'll get all the tweens and the middle school students, maybe some high school students
Right.
that, you know, kind of like aren't too cool to do that kind of stuff. And usually I end up getting some off-duty lifeguards that want to come in and do it. But then we found out over the summer,
Yeah.
like parents have been bringing kids in life jackets, like little kids, like 3 and 4. And the inflatables are set up to like one person at a time just running through the obstacles. It's not free play on inflatables, so it's easier to control safety. But I'm actually going to add in the fall an inflatable swim on Sunday. So we'll do Saturday night and it'll be 12 and older. And then Sunday morning will be like 12 and under with a parent. So a little more like a different type of play. So we're seeing that need come out of it. It's kind of cool.
It worked out having the separate groups too. So I think it's more better for everybody involved.
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
No, that's great.
That's our take on horseplay.
That's right.
Groups.
You know it when you see it.
Yeah,
that's right.
Do. You really do.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just talking about that to somebody else the other day. Well, what is it? It's, you just know it.
Yeah.
So, one of the group members asked about painted concrete. Can anyone recommend a good, strong, very non-slip paint they would apply over a previously failed paint? Mm-hmm. And on this one, I don't have any good recommendations, and I get into this stuff. We did a sample test of a concrete paint coating that worked out okay, except that it developed some mineral staining on it, which I'm still trying to fight off. So until I can figure out if that's going to be able to come off or not, I don't know that I have a product I can recommend. I would really encourage excess concrete work and trying to get re-skimming concrete over trying to coat it.
Where is the concrete in question? Did I miss that? Did they say where the location?
I think they said it was around their pool deck.
Oh, and it's been painted. Oh. Yeah, I don't have any recommendations either.
Yeah, I have bad luck with pool paint.
Yeah,
I avoid it.
Concrete.
Once you start painting concrete or anything around a pool, you're going to be continuing to paint it regularly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but with the situation they're in, I mean, my advice would be to get a concrete expert in and see if they have any recommendations.
Yes.
This is one that if you find something great, please share it out with the rest of the group because we could all use it.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, this is actually a good one to go into. Karen asked about guidance about formal employee discipline. How do you say this isn't working out to employees? If you can point to any resources. And I think Karen said that this was actually like very difficult thing for her to do.
Where she needs to let someone go.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, that's always hard.
Yeah, it's never easy. I say the most important thing is to have documentation, paper trail and all that, and that's just going to be what you fall back on. So you just kind of just deliver it matter of fact, but there's no good way to do it.
Yeah, you have to, I agree 100% with that. You have to really establish that you've met with this individual, you've counseled them on their deficiency, and you've kept track of it. And you've even in some cases maybe created a work plan where you check back in. And, these are part-time and younger staff. So, for someone in maybe our position, you might see a 3 or 6 month work plan. But for like one of the kids or a younger staff member, you may have to do week to week work plan. So it would involve a little more work on the supervisor's end to document. But if you can sit down with them and just list out, we've worked on this and this and this, and this has not improved. I always pull in a third party. So whether that's so nobody that's at their level, right? Like I'm the director. So if I have to talk to one of my staff about something like this, I bring in one of my board members who's kind of an impartial party, but can sit, and take feedback from both of us. So it's all fair, but I would definitely throw in a third person to that, just so you have more documentation. How did the employee take the feedback? Are they willing to work on it? Are you going to see a change? So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, and Amanda would definitely agree with having a third party there to just as an observer or as a buffer sometimes, and to just have that also as a witness, you know.
Sometimes you get called really nasty names in those situations, speaking from experience. And so it's really good to have backup by somebody. I used to bring in other departments when I was not the director. I would bring in like the finance director or the public works director, somebody who's my counterpart within the city, who could bring that management level to it, because I am a one full-time staff at my facility, always have been. So if I have to make a decision like that, I usually have to bring somebody else in regardless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the only thoughts I'll add to that one is that we, as somebody who's been on both sides of the table, both firing people and getting fired themselves, I think, you know, it's never a surprise. You should act with compassion, but also as the person, I don't know, you know, something I ran into earlier in my career, I know of like, oh, this is going to ruin this person's life. I would say right now, from what I'm seeing in the workforce, like, it's not like this person is just not a good fit for you, and you've done your best work to get them where they need to be, but there's going to be other options out there. So treating, you know, kind of that golden rule of treat other people as you'd want to be treated, and understand that, like, it also, I would say with younger staff, it could be the kick in the rear end. They need to get their stuff together. I know I had one staff member that I really put a lot of time and effort into, and they just weren't getting there. The kick in the rear they needed. They saw that, hey, I have to change what I'm doing. And then with their next employer, they did great. So I would say that this doesn't, like, it's a big deal. And it's important to do it right. But at the same time, you know, this isn't, you know, it's giving people an opportunity to improve. And also, I would say I've seen dramatic morale increase when you have an employee who's really struggling, or not even necessarily just, whether it's just they're struggling or they don't care. And holding them accountable to that can oftentimes improve morale for everyone else. The fact that, yes, there is consequences to poor behavior. And I don't say that lightly, because that's the goal is to avoid that. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Yeah.
So I'll remind anyone watching, whether you're watching live on Facebook or anywhere that we have this posted, we still have room for questions. I've got a half a dozen questions left, so I'd love to see other questions commented. And if you're in the group and would like to post a question, also please do so. So next question. Amy asks, I'm going to slide that down just a little bit. There we go. Amy asks, does anybody else find they sleep better when it's raining because even your subconscious knows the pool is closed?
I read that question yesterday, and I did get a chuckle.
For sure. In the rain's just relaxing in general.
Yeah.
So a couple pools ago, I worked in the same town. I lived in the same town that the pool was, and I was the aquatics director in a small town pool. So anytime an ambulance rolled out, I'd hear it. And I know for me, it was a little stressful. Like, whenever I'd hear an ambulance and I wasn't at work, the first thing I would look at is like, what time is it? And is the pool open? And that level of stress, it probably wasn't, it was not healthy. It wasn't good. Now I live, half an hour away, so I don't have that problem to worry about. But my challenge that I keep reminding myself is that I need to be doing a good job supporting my staff and equipping them and training them that they can handle stuff when we're not there. I mean, that's the goal, right? And looking back at my career, knowing that some of the best things for growth were in situations that were a push that I had to handle on the spot without the backup of the manager or director. Those were some of the most rewarding times, even though in the moment it was stressful and hard. Those situations helped shape me and helped make me be a better employee long term. So my idea for the group and for the industry as a whole is to, we care a lot, but I think that caring can also get in the way of helping our employees continue to do better.
Mm-hmm.
Other thoughts?
Yeah, well, touching on what you said, that's been always been a challenge for me, is feeling like I have to handle everything myself as it happens, or and then that leads to just constantly being worried. Like, if it is thunderstorming, I'm worried about, okay, if the power goes out, I need to go reset the pump, like. So that's always the challenging part, is just, but it's good because you want to get the staff involved, you want to delegate, and so that just can be a challenge.
Yeah, great
You get used to
feedback.
doing everything on your own. It's like
It's hard. It's really hard. I think I'm kind of working on some conference presentation I think I want to put together at some point in the next year about that kind of that emotional difficulty that we have as employee or managers to let go of some of that stuff and how we carry it too much, and it's not healthy long term.
And especially, so I came from a small community center prior to this, where I literally did everything, and it's kind of culture shock now being in a park district that has resources and has staff. And Amanda tells me that all the time. She's like, "Hey, utilize your resources now that you have it." So, it's a good problem to have.
Right. And it's different as somebody who's done that too. I've been the small pool to multi-purpose facilities, and it's like you have to change who you are. Like how what has got you to where you're at isn't going to be what's going to keep you thriving and being successful.
I like the way you just put that. That's good. I'm gonna remember that.
Well, thank you. I know one of the things, I mean, like I'll chime in on this, especially since we're doing pretty good on time. I'm really slow to hire people, and this is in my facility operations role, in that I have a fairly limited budget. Even though I never quite hit it, I've been slow to hire because I've always worked in facilities that have been under the gun of like, well, we're one city councilor away from being shut down because of budget concerns. And so I don't want to be in a situation where we have people starting to rely on us to do that work. And, it's only been in the last month or so that I've really realized that you got to let go of that. Like, again, some of the comments I made earlier about firing someone means that they're, it's not the end of their career or end of their world. Especially if we're looking at budget cuts, it's so much easier to help somebody find another job. So that's been a struggle that I've personally dealt with, and I'm trying to get out of that mindset. And hopefully after I get back from vacation, I've got like 6 job interviews for people that have previously applied to get in and see if we can start training and rebuilding some of my maintenance team. So the next question that came in was from Robert. He asked, has anybody used the Taylor TTI color meter? He said he had a Palin test meter that was starting to give some weird readings, and had anybody had experience with that Taylor color meter?
No, I've used the Palin test before, but that's about it.
One thing to be aware of with the Palin test is you do have to send them in to be kind of recalibrated periodically. I know mine's overdue, so I need to get it in. Melissa, if you're still there, didn't you get one of those Taylor color meters, or did you get the Lamont?
I knew you were gonna bring that up. I don't use it. I bought it. I don't use it. I intend to use it. I just don't. There was some issues in getting the right reagents from my local supplier. And so I just kind of put the test kit on a shelf and promptly forgot about it. And since I'm the one and only person at my facility that does a lot of things, it hasn't been like something that I use. So I have nothing for anybody.
No, I was guilty of that too, even with my Palin test meter, because we have our part-time staff use a Taylor test kit to do our periodic test, the routine testing.
Yeah.
And but I again, in the interest of learning and delegating, I handed off to one of my staff to start using the Palin test meter every week to do all the main, the weekly tests. So it's getting a lot more use now. All right. Next question coming in from Melissa. I stole it from your post on the group about, has anybody had to replace a main drain? And there was pictures in the post. So I don't know if, Andrew, you guys have ever had to replace a main drain valve and assembly at your facilities?
No, at the old job right when I first started, they had just replaced the main drain because it wasn't VGB compliant. So they had just, like right before I came in, they had just got that replaced. So no.
Yeah, this is the valve that opens and shuts it to drain the pool, not the like drain cover.
Oh,
so
gotcha. Also,
and it has just been sitting in water. I didn't realize there was water in it. And so it has like basically rusted shut, which is it's all fine until something happens and you need to drain your pool. So it could be a super simple fix. It could be involve some cutting of the concrete to make those, like the access point, a little bit bigger. So my picture had like these little tiny green covers that you would find in your lawn for like a sprinkler valve or something. Like they're very small to access these points, but both the valves for the pool drain and the surge pit drain are now fused shut. So yay me.
Yeah, those are definitely, and I've talked to you about it before too. I think you're going to be doing some pretty heavy demo work to get those out. They're going to need to come in and saw cut that concrete. You're going to have your pool down, and then they're going to have to tie into that existing plumbing. It's in the scheme of jobs. I think it'll be a little bit tricky, but I don't think it'll be that bad for experienced concrete cutters, and then for plumbers to be able to get in and make those assemblies right. And then I would just make sure you've got plenty of room for future repairs. So in 20 years, when you have to do it again, it's a lot easier for you.
Yeah.
All right. Next question came from Anita. Does anybody have a policy about creating and posting TikTok videos while in guard attire in your facility or any other social media? Comments?
No, Amanda and I were just it's hard. We don't really can't control what people put in their social media, I suppose, unless they're doing it at work on their shift. That'd be my general big answer. I also don't have TikTok, so
right.
Never.
Yeah, I attended a section like at AOAP, so Association of Aquatics Professionals, last year. And some of the agencies out there are actually paying their staff to be influencers for their business on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. And so I kind of take the approach of, if it's not negatively impacting your agency and it's promoting it in some way, bringing in more staff, showing people how cool the job is.
Yeah.
And I know it's really hard to like, oh, I don't like that video, don't post it. And oh, that one's really great, post it. But really, unless you have a clear-cut policy about the social media while you are getting paid at the location, because I do, then there's nothing you can do to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of times it could be creating visibility, promoting the job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because we let these staff interact with the public regularly, and we trust them to make life-saving decisions in an emergency.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I tend to be a little less set the rules and like you have the rules because somebody was not very smart.
Mm-hmm.
Up that dog.
Usually we do, but the social media stuff, it's here to stay, right? So we have to try to work with it rather than against it. Because if you just keep going against it too much, you're just gonna like break your face on it. It's just gonna be exhausting.
Yeah, they're not gonna stop doing it. But.
No. And so I think you just need to, it's teachable moments and teaching them, this is what's permissible and this is what you say. And the reality is they can still do stuff on their own after hours that can cause you just as big or bigger issues. I know somebody, and Melissa, I don't know if you ever heard this story from somebody we both used to work with about they had a pool party after hours and the newspaper happened to be walking by and took pictures of them like on top of the top rails of the slide, sliding down the slide after hours and goofing around. That didn't look good to the public.
No. Yeah, there's always going to be people out there waiting for your staff to do something that they deem to be inappropriate.
And we had a little discussion about this on our kind of state check-in for our aquatic section in Oregon about, how do you handle people filming in your facility and trying to play gotcha with your guards? I don't know if you guys have had to deal with that where you're at, Andrew.
Not from our patrons. Just the occasional audit from Ellis,
Okay, that makes sense.
So
and that was
at a when I was coaching at a high school, we would have, that was a separate policy. We'd have parents wanting to record their kids practice, and it's like, well, you're getting other people's kids. We can't necessarily do that. If you want to have a separate time to record them, then that's fine. So, but not regarding our lifeguards.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I know different states have different rules about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. I have only one more question left in here. So if other people have other things they'd like to talk about, you can queue those up and get ready. But the next question we had was, Andy asked this, he was looking for thoughts. My organization once did 8-hour shifts and paid OT. We now do 9-hour shifts and don't pay the lunch hour. It's a seasonal facility outdoors.
Hmm.
And
usually the half hour.
Yeah. And I think it depends on your state's labor rules. I mean, like for us, one, they're required paid breaks during their time. You don't have to pay the lunch break. But you do have to provide a lunch break. Here in Oregon, it's if they work more than 6 hours, you have to provide a lunch break.
Which is 30 minutes, and it is unpaid.
It can't, yeah, exactly.
In Illinois,
yeah, and we
it's either 6 or 7.
Yeah, and then we're kind of interesting because we don't, you can work as long as you want during a day. It's just that there can't be more than 40 hours in a week without paid overtime. Yeah. So, somebody could work 16 hours in a day. As 16 hours, they actually technically have to get 2 lunch breaks. And that if that's the one day they work, there's no OT there. But the minute they hit 40 hours in that whatever work week your organization defines, then they run into overtime. I don't know if that's the same for you guys out in Illinois.
I think that sounds about right. I'd have to ask Amanda, but I believe that's right. I know it's for one shift, it's 6 or 6.5 hours, have to clock out for 30-minute lunch break. And then, the OT is a weekly accumulation. So you could just have somebody could work 16-hour day and then just give them Friday off and they wouldn't hit overtime.
Right. And some people love that. I know, some of the guards, if they're working other things or they want to just like, I just want to knock this out. Let me work 2 days. I have questions about the effectiveness that they're going to have after a 16-hour day.
Right.
I have done 16-hour days when I was, in college and showed up at spring break at our small facility. And I was literally there for every open shift for 2 days straight because nobody else was around. But yeah, I think it doesn't sound like, as long as they're getting the breaks and lunch periods appropriately, that going to that 9-hour day doesn't seem like as big of a deal.
Right. If they're getting enough downtime and they're staying hydrated, all that stuff, then
Yeah, that down rotation is really key. And it's not, I think we've had discussions on this before about the difference between breaks and surveillance breaks and down rotations, which is pretty common in our industry. So that was the last of the questions I had. So Andrew or Melissa, do you have anything you want to throw out there or discuss? I got a couple ideas here for some things.
I don't.
Okay.
not necessarily.
Did you so you guys have wrapped up your season now or do you have other besides like an outdoor facility? Are you guys a year-round operation?
Yeah, so we are out. We have 2 outdoor pools that wrapped up because they're doing new school schedule, so they started yesterday. Usually, yeah, August 3rd. So they're doing a new, and then they have longer breaks during the school year, so they're trying that out. Right now, the facility we're in now is the Peoria Riverplex. We have our indoor pool that normally would be in operation all year. It's actually getting repainted and renovated right now, and so we're getting ready to open that back up Labor Day. So now the shift has been get through the crazy summer. Now we're prepping for fall, making sure, hoping everything's going to be open in time. So
where you guys are at, in the scheme of things, how did you think you guys fared with with the labor and lifeguard shortage this summer?
We honestly, staff wise, we were okay. Part of that was Park District added a $2 bonus for summer guards, and then an incentive if they work all of the weeks out of the summer, they get a bonus at the end of summer. So there was a couple incentives to get people on board and keep them on, which Amanda alluded to. She said, how do you connect to the young people? Pay them more. But
Yeah.
I understand not everybody's able to do that. So
Well, and that it's like you can not do that and then see your operation flounder, or you can do that and I think that's something that higher ups need to understand. And we're getting there, that the industry has changed. The market has changed. It's a macroeconomic issue, similar to when the Affordable Care Act went in, that we had to shift how we operate. We can't no longer operate the way we used to, and we can complain about it, but we're all dealt the same hand, and we have to get creative on how we impact that. Do you guys charge for your training, or do you pay your staff for their training times?
we'll cover their training if they work for the Park District. So we'll take train anybody, and you're free to go. We don't want you to work at another pool, obviously, but if you do, that's fine. We just won't cover that for you. So that's how it works.
And you guys use the Ellis lifeguarding program.
Mm-hmm.
So are you guys doing it's been a while since we've talked about it. Do you guys do where you have like their training program, or are you like client partners where you have the whole meal deal?
The whole thing, we're partnered with them with the risk management and insurance and all that stuff. So yeah, the audits affect sort of a wide scale of things.
Great. I know out here there was a little bit of a stronghold of some Ellis facilities, but they've been kind of dwindling down out here, at least. And that's not a reflection necessarily of the program in my mind. I think it's just different organizations have chosen what they felt was a better fit. That's
all it is. And really, I mean, that's the main difference, is just the auditing, I would say, for the most part. I mean, I'm Red Cross and Ellis certified. As far as skills go, they're roughly the same. Couple minor differences, but yeah, the auditing keeps the guards on their toes, though.
Exactly. No, I agree 100% on that. So All right. Well, this has been a little shorter today. I'm hoping with the new webinar registration format, it's good because it pushes a reminder an hour before the session. So that'll hopefully help people be able to get onto it. And we'll continue to share and build. And as summer gets wrapped up, people have a little more free time. Um, and again, if any feedback you guys have, please send it to me. Let me know, message me, whatever. I'm just trying to continue to keep the conversation and realize we're not all alone out there in dealing with all this stuff. It's they're common issues, but people are figuring out solutions, and we want to share that. We're not, I don't think, us copying something you guys are doing in Illinois, or even here when Melissa and I are still in Oregon, we're 2 hours away from each other. There's no reason we can't share ideas and try to make it better for everyone. So does anybody else have any other closing thoughts?
Good luck with the rest of the remaining of your season.
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and catch you guys hopefully next week.